Dr. Abedian, just quickly, the market reacting very strongly with a drop of nearly 4% in the share price of Telkom, recovering slightly. Certainly a sign that people are concerned about developments at Telkom.
Absolutely. It comes hot on the heel of the past few months of failed negotiations that Telkom had with the Korean telecommunication corporations. Also, even beyond that, over the past 5 years, we've had 4 CEOs coming and going, each of them leaving the organization in either the same or worse state, all of which indicates that not only from a sector and from a business point of view, Telkom is in a very uncomfortable place, but also from a governance point of view, it's in total disarray.
Now, obviously, as I said in the introduction, what is happening at Telkom comes very recently off the back of the similar incidents where there was a big fallout between the shareholder, which was government, and of course the board of SAA and also the CEO there. Are we seeing a pattern here? Is this pointing to something larger than the governance issues at these individual SOEs or parastatals? Is it a question of the state trying to impose a new way of doing things by stealth almost?
I think what it indicates is that the state at the moment, at the political level, not so much at the state level, at the political level, there is a confusion between the trusteeship of state enterprises and the ownership. The political meddling at such a level that ministers act as if they are the sole owners. And it's partly because in our democratic situation, still we haven't reached a point where ministers have to account for or get credit for whatever they do with the state assets. So we see ministers meddling, changing the boards overnight, bringing whoever is their favorite without due respect to what it will do to the asset value, what it would do to the economy. Remember, Telkom, much like SAA, these are part of the backbone infrastructure of our economy. These are not marginal players in the operations, day-to-day efficiency of the economy. So when you suddenly bring a whole lot of people, disregard their professional advice, be it in terms of merger with South Koreans or be it other types of efficiency and operational improvement, on political or ideological ground, you're hurting the economy. So I think it's a very serious issue in the background.
Now, when I interviewed the Minister for Telecoms, Diana Pule, I asked her very directly how the government views its position within Telkom, particularly off the back of comments which was ascribed to her about the fact that Telkom doesn't need FDI, and that was in the wake of the Korean deal falling through. And she was quite clear, saying that of course they wanted FDI, but because Telkom is seen as a strategic asset, the state has to look very carefully at what it wants Telkom to do. Do you think, Dr. Abedian, it's a case of different imperatives bumping up against each other, where you have a developmental thrust, but also these institutions are meant to be run efficiently and profitably?
Yeah, I think, Karema, we cannot interpret developmental meaning meddle and disrupt. Developmental means do the right thing for the medium to long term. Put competent people, don't destabilize them, and if there is need for improvement, do it incrementally. To come and summarily dismiss the board of SAA or dismiss or vote of a lack of confidence in the majority or a bulk of Telkom board, it's disruptive. It's not developmental. It's exactly the opposite of developmental. And on the back of it, asset values goes down. But very importantly, Karema, and this is a very important situation that we find ourselves. As a result of this misinterpretation and misapplication of developmental state, the running of the macroeconomy now lacks credibility. We've just been downgraded 1 notch. We are 2 notches away from being regarded as a junk bond state. And we are on a negative watch. If we manage our state assets in this way, in a disruptive and in a way non-professional way, this cannot be developmental. We got to rethink, and ministers got to discharge their responsibilities far more in a considered way than in this get up, I don't like this lot must go, that lot must come in. Bear in mind that an organization like SAA or Telcom, even if you bring the most experienced, the most professional people as a collective of board competencies, it takes between 2 to 3 years to get their arm around the operations, what to do with it. If you have 4 CEOs and 4 boards in 5 years, there is no way to sort it out.
Now, we know, of course, that there is quite a lot of differences of opinion on what to do with SOEs, what to do with development finance institutions. And of course, there's been several commissions looking at the mandates of SOEs within that broad macroeconomic policy framework. And that comes against the background of BUSA saying that it needs policy certainty from the ruling party and from the state if it wants to participate meaningfully in this big infrastructure rollout. From where you're sitting, Dr. Abedian, are we likely to get that policy certainty given the fact that there are such different schools of thought on what to do with parastatals and with SOEs?
Absolutely not. Over the past 3 years, we have enough evidence to see that whenever the line function minister gets it right, the Minister of State Enterprises comes and derails it for a different reason. When a State Enterprise Ministry gets it right, the line function ministry confuses the line, and then you have the National Treasury is caught between these two. So I think the possibility and the probability of getting a medium to long-term strategy that would define what we mean by developmental state, how we want to achieve it, how we want to balance different capabilities of development, meaning transportation, ICT, etc., at the moment is very remote because there isn't any policy consistency within the cabinet.